Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terri Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Haleko.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. Although, really, when we're talking about Veronica Mars?
Yes.
We're talking about parenting quite a lot at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes parents behaving badly.
Very.
As turned out to be
terrible.
the case this week. When we're completing our watch of the first season of Veronica Mars with the very dramatic finale. Leave it to Beaver. Beaver really had very little to do with it.
I thought maybe that was a little bit of a, fathers and sons and
I guess
perfect
so.
families kind of thing. I mean, it was definitely like a little red herring to make you believe for 2 seconds that Beaver had something to do with it, because they did have one little scene.
Which implicated Logan, which we knew was not going to be too early in the episode.
Right.
Not going to be Duncan, even though his parents think he did it. And not going to be Logan, even though Veronica thinks he did it. No. It's going to be the person Terri guessed did it.
That's right.
Although I'm now going back reading reviews online of that episode, and a lot of them say everybody thought it was going to be Aaron. It was too easy, or I didn't believe everybody when they said it was going to be Aaron. So apparently I am not unique in having followed those particular breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
But still, yes.
It's still satisfying.
It is very satisfying.
To know that you were right.
It is. It just... it was the law of economy of characters, and it was also the law of if somebody is in a role who has a bigger name than is necessary for that part, probably going to be that person that did it. Mm-hmm. It's true in 1-hour procedurals. It's true in 1-season procedurals. You know, you don't need Harry Hamlin to play the father of one of your main characters who just shows up now and then. But wowza, did it pay off big?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we should, starting from the beginning, you have Keith brought his witness that he had found to a newspaper reporter who, had lunch plans and so wasn't interested in actually doing work, apparently. But, he must have found enough in the file that he decided to burst it open. So then Duncan has to go to his parents and say, hey, I see you lied about who did this thing. Let's talk about that. And they say, okay, well, you're right. You're the one who killed her. We found you with her. And you're a murderer, but we still love you. It's not your fault.
Yeah, it was an accident.
And more importantly, we have a party tonight, so can you just, hold on to that trauma, son? It'll be fine.
Right.
And that's horrible. They found him holding her with his face all bloody, as though he had, chewed her.
Somehow.
Seems fairly clear from this that he's bloody because he's holding her, not because he bashed her head in, but I suppose one might jump to that conclusion.
Their first thing is, what did you do? Instead of what happened or something where he could say, I found her like this.
I know. Well, yeah, why didn't he? I guess he's in some sort of...
He's in a state of shock.
The amount of trauma in this town, man.
I know.
There needs to be a trauma counselor on Neptune High because all of these children
not
need
the guidance
counseling.
Counselor.
Yeah.
Not the guidance counselor who just... goes talking to people without any sort of permission or training.
Duncan's traumatized by finding his sister dead, and then he's traumatized by thinking he slept with his sister, who turns out thankfully not to have been his sister, and then he's traumatized that his parents think he killed her, and then he's traumatized to see a sex tape with his actual sister, and then he's traumatized that his best friend's father killed his sister. Just all sorts of... And my gosh, Logan, when he finds out... which I assume we'll see next season. You can imagine. Just all these young people counseling.
I know. Because Logan's had it bad enough already. So
yes. I'm going to assume that Logan did not, in fact, jump off the bridge where last we saw him, since I know that character is in future episodes. Right. So unless he is now going to be the ghost. Fill the ghost function that Lily filled. No, he was in the movie. He was as actual human. So presumably we...
Well, I liked the theory that Rishi Hirway presented on the podcast that we didn't see Veronica place the call to Weevil that said, I need you to go find Logan because I can't find him and he's probably in trouble.
I like that very much. I'm going to believe that too until we're shown something different. But because otherwise, Logan would not survive. I mean, I think if Weevil really wanted to kill Logan and finds him teetering on the side of a bridge, he would help him off. So he must have been going there to take care of him. Though Veronica couldn't have said, first, could you come here and scare off this, well, I guess at that point
she
of the
didn't
phone
know
call, she
yet.
didn't know. He was in the car. You know, I often get in cars and have that creepy feeling that I should look in the back seat, which is, it can't be that easy to hide in a car if you are a full-grown man.
Right.
And her car isn't like, you know, a minivan. How exactly does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you feel like you would have just even the sense or just hearing them breathe or something.
Effect.
But I think as they pointed out on the podcast, she's in such a state. Like, she's not thinking clearly.
That is very true.
Quite a lot of this episode. Although she is in several places where she does some brilliant things, like throw the tape up on the roof and intentionally crash her car.
Right.
To save herself from Aaron.
But it's sort of a headlong thing and she's not in the same kind of control she usually is of every situation. She decides that Logan must have done it because Beaver tells her that Logan was not in fact in Mexico. Everybody's alibi is trash in this thing. And so, you know, she sort of turns him into the sheriff who lets him know that it was Veronica who turned him in because he's a jerk. And so there's a very sad scene on the beach where, you know, Logan basically tells her to go stick her head in the oven. But just because he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very sad. And although, I mean, one of many reasons why you guys should not be together. There's too much going on. Just table this for a while. I can't mourn their lost romance since I never really cared much for it in the first place. But still, I do feel sorry for Logan, who has been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Veronica maybe jumped to conclusions there a little speedily.
Yes.
Because, Veronica, it's too early in the episode. It can't be him.
Right.
Come on.
Check your watch, Veronica. It's not time yet.
You know how these things work. Also, his dad is super creepy. So Logan says he left a letter for Lily. And Veronica knows where Lily would have hid it. She puts on a ridiculous catering costume to just sneak into the Canes party because all caterers wear exactly the same thing. And anybody can just come and pick up a tray. But okay, you know, we'll let that go. And she goes into Lily's room, and then Duncan catches her, and the whole time there are these weird camera angles that suggest somebody is watching.
Somebody is watching.
And this is the point at which, if this were any other show and I were not watching it for the podcast, I would go in the other room. I would find an excuse. I would put my headphones on and just watch it without listening. But I, persevered. And so they find these tapes of Lily in the pool shack of love, and
from the last episode.
Yes, noticing the camera just as Veronica had noticed the camera. Eccles men, why do you leave clever young girls in there alone? What is the matter with you? And then they find out that by popping in a different tape, who she is there with, and then Veronica imagines what must have happened. One of many, many, many scenarios of Lily's death we have seen over the season. Right. But this one must be the right one, right? And, Aaron kills her because she has the tapes and will not give them to him, and is just being her sassy Lily self, not realizing that in this case,
get her killed.
She is possibly overmatched. So she's not reading the room here.
No.
So anyway, and then instead of going out, approaching one of the many Secret Service men who must be there with the governor and saying, I have evidence of a murder, can you protect me while the police get here? She says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take these incriminating tapes. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive on a really, really, really dark road. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Which, not thinking.
Yes. There were so many other choices. So very many.
I mean, she could have even taken Duncan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, oh dear. And so, of course, she's driving along, and the whole time I'm going, he's in the car. He's in the car. You know he's in the car. I say to my husband, he's like, he's not in the car. He's totally in the car. And then you see the
in the rear view
demonic
mirror.
eyes of menace pop up in the rearview mirror. Oh my goodness. Even though I knew he was in the car, I screamed. Because, man, that was a good shot. You know, it was the horror counterpart to Keith Mars popping up in the mirror while she's trying to wash off the blue ink. It was a nice bookend to that. And, from there, it was just like a 20-minute horror movie. It just kept getting more and more intense. And that fight between, Keith traces her to where she is, and she's locked in a refrigerator, and Aaron is being all crazy and trying to find the tapes. I guess he's up on the roof looking for a tape, and Keith comes and he jumps on Keith, and they're just fighting the way that Aaron fought Trina's boyfriend with just anything close at hand. And Keith, of course, has some game in this area as well. That was brutal.
Yes.
That was awful to watch. And then as a final, when Keith finally gets the best of him, Aaron just kind of flicks his lighter, and he's previously dumped gasoline all over the deck and the refrigerator where Veronica is, and Keith has to run through the oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's awful. And then in true horror movie form, Aaron gets up, he runs to a car, he steals Veronica's keys, he gets in the car, and, looks like he's going to go get away, but there is one party as yet unheard of. And the low growl comes from the back seat. And I yell, back up!
Yay!
And back up comes
Very
to the rescue.
happy to see you, buddy.
Yes. I was thinking as Aaron was getting in the car, I wonder if Keith brought the dog. And then, yes! If only they could have rigged it so that his head came up in the rearview mirror. But, there's only so much you can do with the dog. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That was so intense, all of that. And then, so Aaron gets out of the car and runs into the road and gets hit by a truck. That was glorious. That was
no one deserved more.
No.
To be hit,
Couldn't he have just run over him a few times? Because I don't want any chance this guy's going to get off. Because it's just 100% circumstantial evidence. If those tapes even made it through the fire, and, if Aaron has the one from the roof in his pocket, it got pummeled and then it got hit by a truck. If that stuff disappears, it's really all, the Mars's word against Aaron's, a rich actor. So I worry for season 2. I will be very put out if it's all about him getting out of this. I trust that it won't, but still, I wish there was some evidence. Because even the tapes just show that he had an affair with her. The only thing we have showing that he killed her is Veronica's imagination of what must have taken place. There's absolutely no evidence. And, the fight, Aaron could just as well say that Veronica was driving home. He offered to ride with her, and Keith came out of nowhere and was beating him up. You can't really prove anything, can you? It's very unsatisfying.
You have Duncan who had also seen the tapes.
Duncan, who was happy to have another suspect instead of himself.
Right.
So I think that Aaron's highly paid attorney could probably erase that. Mm-hmm. I'm worried.
Yeah.
I wish the truck had hit him a lot harder and maybe backed up a few times.
Yeah.
You're Aaron Eccles. I hated your last movie. Vroom!
Right. Let me finish the job.
That's right. Darn it. Where's a psycho truck driver when you need him? But that was very satisfyingly finished. And
yes, and you also had the satisfaction of Keith getting the DNA test results and actually reading them, unlike Veronica,
right?
Who decided not to read hers.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
you get the wonderful scene of him being able to tell her that he's her daddy.
Yes, after she had very happily signed away any rights to any money, as we all knew she would, but
right.
So that's not hanging over for that. Although I still. The conversation where he says, hey, by the way, you seem to think that you might be Jake Kane's daughter. How did that knowledge come to you? Maybe Leanne told him, yeah, we had a conversation about it. I don't know. But they're still, let's just say they had all those conversations off camera. It happened. We just didn't see them, right?
Right.
They're home a lot of the time when we're not around. But that was a lovely scene and such a relief.
Yes.
You know, and that then Veronica promptly lets Duncan off the hook is very nice, even in the midst of all this.
I mean, it wasn't
drama.
Exactly prompt. Like, he had to go through the whole thing of watching the tape first.
Right.
And then as she's running out the door, by the way.
But it didn't wait till next season, you know? She let him know. So. Yes.
One small piece of Duncan's trauma can be.
You only have one sister to worry about, man, okay?
Yeah.
Let me let you off the hook on that one.
And the other lovely scene was Keith waking up in the hospital, and who should be there holding his hand? Yes. Alicia, Wallace's mom.
I knew it was going to be, but it was very satisfying.
Yes. As soon as the doctor said, is there anyone you can call? She was like,
very nice.
I know who. And then,
especially since Leanne turns out to be such a horrible, horrible person who stole her kids' college fund twice. Not
once.
What the heck is the matter with you, lady? Can we find a maternity test that says you're not really her mother?
Right.
Maybe you just, oh gosh. That's really too bad. I mean, I think she had to go, and I think Veronica did the right thing by calling her on it. The taking the check was just...
Yeah, that was just a real...
Another opportunity to scream.
Moment.
Yeah. Oh, what an awful, awful thing to do. Slink out with the tail between your legs, lady, and let them keep their money. Oh, well.
Right.
But yes, Alicia was there. That was very sweet. And
then, so at the very, very end, there was a little cliffhanger because Veronica woke up after a very long sleep, which she certainly was.
Oh my goodness!
After everything that happened,
wow.
And someone's at the door. By the way, where's Backup? I don't know what happened to Backup. I hope he's okay.
Backup had a very hard evening too. Maybe he's getting some good, well-deserved sleep. He saved the dang day. So
yes. But anyway, someone's at the door, and we see Veronica open it and say, "I was hoping it would be you." And we don't get to find out who you actually is.
So, what is your theory, Catherine?
Well, my theory is that it's Logan. What I wish is that it were Wallace.
My theory is that it's Wallace, but because his mother went to the hospital and said you should go be with your friend. But my husband pointed out that Wallace has a little sister and should theoretically be home with her.
A brother, but yes, you're right.
It's a brother? I think that he has one of those, like, younger siblings that we hear so little about that...
We may not even know if it's a boy or girl.
All right, he has a younger sibling.
Right.
That if this is the middle of the night, he should be home with. So perhaps...
Well, by now it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is it 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I thought it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, but it's light out.
Is it? It's never light out at their apartment.
I know. Well, anyway.
Okay, so if it's 3 in the afternoon, it could totally be Wallace then.
I think that the show thinks it should be Logan because of their whole wanting to have a relationship between the two of them. But I think it would be much better for all parties if it were Wallace.
I do too. And so I guess on the Veronica Mars Investigations podcast, they suggested that perhaps it could be Leo, which is one I hadn't even thought of. But I sort of would like to make sure Logan's okay. So if it's him, I would be fine with that. And that they need to have a moment of, gee, sorry I suspected you, and man, your father is a scary dude, and are you all right? Mm-hmm. And that he would feel some chagrin over the fact that his dad killed his girlfriend and almost killed his other girlfriend and would want to check on her. So that's totally possible. But I think what she needs right in this moment is Wallace. So really not so much with the romance for you for a while, Veronica.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned counseling?
really for everyone involved. I mean, Logan and Duncan need some badly as well.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody just take some time.
It could even be Duncan.
Right. It definitely could be Duncan at the door. And that, I mean, the two of them could use a sit down also, although, no need to go back to the romance there either. Really. No. Just, even though you are not incestuous, still, there's just too much drama. Everybody has just had too much drama. There needs is it summer vacation time in Neptune?
It's really time for a big time out.
Children get to go to camp or something, or just, get a nice little summer job on the boardwalk. And
it's time for, yes, the season ended in time for them to really just take a long break.
Maybe each find a rehab facility for the healing of trauma and abuse and alcohol and drugs and whatever all else y'all have been in.
Right.
Because, just that's a stressful place.
Yes.
The amount of horrible things that have happened to people. How many people can there be living in Neptune that we've had 22 episodes, 22, of terrible things happening to people?
Yep. And it's, except for these last two, it's, a new person every time.
Really, we just think about the main characters and what they've been through.
Yeah.
Wow. I hope they can take the time between seasons off. There's no time between seasons for us now because you could just, Hulu it's like, oh my gosh, who could be at the door? And Hulu's like, here's the next episode. You want to find out?
Right. Stop.
I need time to recover.
Not ready.
I guess I could have just watched the first couple of minutes, although this show never starts again where we left off. Yeah. They couldn't have even, they left off with Mom, and then we come back and it's another time and they're cooking or something. I want to see what happened at that moment. I want to see the next.
Right. And also, they totally dropped, speaking of that, they just totally dropped the part about Clarence Weidman pursuing
What the heck happened to that guy?
I mean, they dropped it when he was literally in the bar menacing both of them, and then he was just gone.
Yeah, and he wasn't in this episode at all. Right. Which, he could have turned up somewhere along the line and been helpful.
Right. He should have been at the Kane's house when the governor was there.
Yes. And he could have followed Veronica on the dark road and then, realized that the true enemy of the Kane family was Aaron Eccles, and put a bullet in his head, and then, made sure that Jake didn't come there to the scene and start yelling and get himself arrested. So,
right.
Did he have a vacation? Was he did he take a couple of vacation days? I've been working pretty hard. I
need some time.
I'm going out of Tijuana. I'll let you know.
He couldn't be bothered. He didn't go to Cuba. So
That's right. He's got time on his hands. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That's for somebody who has been the alleged big bad for most of the season. He fizzled out pretty soundly.
He certainly did.
So we thought we would also, after talking about that particular episode and catching our breath for a moment, we would talk about the entire Veronica Mars season 1 overall, what we thought about it and how we feel about moving on to season 2. I personally, other than finding out who was there when she opened the door, I'm kind of dreading what comes after because I know they have to reset things. It's like, well, we solved all those problems. Let's set up some new ones for Veronica. Can't we just enjoy it for, a season? Can't she just have a happy life and, sell cookies at the bake sale and, have a nice boyfriend?
Or do little jobs.
Yes,
do little jobs from her toilet
nothing that
office,
would involve being,
on the podcast.
Stuck in a refrigerator and set on fire. Short of that,
Right.
She's had a rough time is what I'm saying.
Yeah. The secret admirer, finding the secret admirer type of case.
Oh, man.
That is something
it's just, I don't know how I would have felt about this if I had watched it. I don't know what the age group this show is intended for. I think they talked about that a little bit on Veronica Mars Investigations also. Mm-hmm. If it's meant for teens to be watching, but to watch it from at the age of being a parent of teenagers and older kids, it's excruciating. It's so hard They shouldn't be doing those things. It's not safe. Stop it. Stop it. Parents. Oh, so much bad parenting. That's like almost the theme of the show. We call parents behaving badly. Such a cavalcade of awfulness,
Yeah. Keith and Alicia are the only two.
Absolutely. And even then,
to have figured
Keith
it
could
out.
do to have more conversations with Veronica. I'm going to choose to believe they have them off camera, but at the same time, there's still things he doesn't know about her. He still doesn't know about the party, presumably. I guess that's maybe conversation is not a dad thing. Action is a dad thing. But even though, Veronica won the dad lottery for sure. Her mother is awful. Abandoned her at a time that was extremely difficult. Yep. It would have been nice to have a mother to go home to and say, oh, by the way, I just got drugged and raped. But no, mom's gone. She comes, takes her college fund to get dry. She comes back. She doesn't stay sober. She steals her college fund again and leaves. Awful, and yet not even close to the worst parent on this show. Logan's mom, knowing what sort of environment her son is in with his dad, just says, you know what, I've had enough of this, and jumps off a bridge. I'm sorry for her misery, but you got a kid there. You're not gonna, how do you abandon him to that? And knowing how he's going to feel about it. And of course, Logan's dad, we've already talked about enough on this episode, but whoo boy. Yikes. Duncan's parents were pretty sure he killed his sister and so covered up for him.
And when Duncan comes back when Keith found Duncan in Cuba and brought him home, basically the only thing his mother said to him was like, next time take your medicine with you.
Yes!
There was no like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Nope.
We went from at the beginning of the season thinking that they killed their daughter to at the end of the season thinking that they covered up for their son, who they thought killed their daughter. I'm not sure which is worse. You know what? They didn't improve. There's not a net gain for the Kane family there.
Yes.
Oh, and it seemed like a large number of the cases of the week also involved parents. We saw certainly a large number of people who are more interested in their status than in their kids' mental and physical health.
Right. With the teen pregnancy and the girl who was trying to be the valedictorian, you're right.
Yeah. Awful, awful, awful people. And this, Jessica Chastain and her stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, this is just like watch the show, parents, to find out what you should not do.
Right.
I don't think we've seen any parents for Weevil, but he did take a rap for his grandmother and go to jail, which is something that a high school student should not have to do. Just wow. If you move, I think Alicia should take Wallace and probably move because this is an unhealthy atmosphere. Give Keith your forwarding address. Encourage him to leave Neptune because why does he need to stay there now?
Yes.
Because, he had to stay there because he wanted to see this case through. Abel Kuntz did everything he did for his daughter, theoretically. And just from a parenting point of view, this show is a dumpster fire. And
all right about
how many times do we see Veronica's life in danger? Keith, Alicia has a point on that. Perhaps these aren't things that a high school student should be doing. I just want to send them all out to the commune, man. They were so much better off there.
I know, the Mooncalf Collective.
Still around? The Mooncalf. Just the Mooncalf needs to just open for the entire population of Neptune High School. Just say, kids, just sit around the campfire with us. Just leave your parents. You know what?
There were some more bad parents, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, he's happy, but we want his money, so bring him back. Deprogram him in a terrible, terrible way, you evil-looking fellow.
Yes.
So, from our point of view as a parenting podcast, this show is all sorts of disheartening. I feel so bad for pretty much everybody. And, even those evil, evil, awful high school kids, they were made that way, I don't think... Do we see anybody horrible who had nice parents? Maybe we did.
Madison Sinclair.
Is she the one who's actually traded parents with Mac?
Yeah. Wasn't she?
I think so.
Because her both of the parents.
If it wasn't Madison, it was somebody similarly insufferable and awful.
Right. Because both of the parents were generally decent, except for the whole part where they covered up the switch stepper thing.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. So, in her case, she was just, you can't, if she was I don't know.
Yeah, there's not
There were a fair number of really awful people. Yes. What are the Casablancas parents like? We haven't met them yet.
Well,
I gotta think they aren't a treat.
No. I mean, just from everything we know about Dick. No, thank you.
Dick is well named, basically.
Yes.
So I'm glad I caught up with this. I guess I enjoyed watching it, although a lot of it was difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it was stressful because sometimes the case of the week was sort of light enough to not make you anxious, but then you were waiting to get more about the Lily Kane case. So
yes,
when that didn't happen, it was frustrating because they had to stretch that whole thing out over 22 episodes,
and still resolved it. I mean, I still am bugged that nothing was ever made again of the stop of the traffic light thing that Veronica found really, really early in the season. I mean, Keith already knew that they had lied about Lily's time of death.
Right.
But at no point did she tell anybody. I guess she told
Leo.
Oh, she told Leo when she was trying to get him to help her.
Right.
Other than that, it's like it never happened. She couldn't have just mentioned that to her dad. I don't know. There was a lot of things like that were, when you found them out, and then we never saw them again. Right. They were like Neptune High School students. Mm-hmm. They stepped up, they got their little moment in the spotlight, and then they went off to detention with Jane Lynch. So that aspect of the show, the way things are important for a minute and then disappear on this show is very frustrating.
Yes. Well, and the whole...
I can only blame the length of the TV season.
Yes. For me, that was most apparent with Clarence Weidman, being the big baddie sometimes. And then just, I guess Veronica found her mom and I'm going to get the next flight back from Barstow.
What the heck?
That was very weird.
And then he was not around at all.
Right. And Keith said to him, I'll see you or you can put my picture up in your cell or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Because Keith knew that there had been a cover up, but I don't know. That was just kind of a tossed off line. So
it was. It was very weird. How great would it have been if in the middle of that horrible, horrible, endless knockdown, drag-out fight between Keith and Aaron, if just all of a sudden Weidman had walked up, tased Aaron, put him in the back of his car, and driven off. That's what I'm here for.
Weidman justice would be applied.
That's right. It's kind of nodded at Keith and...
Yeah.
Your daughter's in the on fire refrigerator. Man, I'll take care of this. That's what we were led to believe he would do, And yet, he's nowhere to be found when Jake starts shouting and making a commotion. By the way, the actor who plays Jake is, according to IMDb, not in any more episodes. So,
really,
either he goes to jail and comes back looking like somebody else, or we never saw him again.
Wow. He seems like a pretty important character.
He will have jetted off to Mexico to beat the rap. And
yeah, I guess so.
Honestly, Duncan would be so much better off if his parents just said, ciao, we're leaving town. Yeah. Enjoy the house. Duncan and Logan could be like, the odd couple and just like sharing a space.
Roommates, exactly.
They could be. A caseworker could check in on them every now and then to make sure they were okay. And then, we could have a whole season of Veronica choosing between the two of them. It would be hijinks. Hijinks would ensue. Oh, well, I don't think it's going to be that, however.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried. My tender mom heart may not be able to take too much of it, but we'll see.
We'll find out.
So next week, we will tiptoe carefully into the first episode of Veronica Mars Season 2, hoping for happy things, dances, crepe paper, pep rallies, bake sales. Come on, one episode where nobody is traumatized. Can you do it? I doubt it. And because we expect to be traumatized by that episode of Veronica Mars. For our second watch next week, we are going to dip our toe shoes into the world of Dance, a show neither of us has ever watched. Because honestly, we need something pretty to watch after that Veronica Mars finale. Mm-hmm. We just need to watch. Even Barefoot Contemporary. I'll even take Barefoot Contemporary at this point. Take me away, Dance. So we will be watching World of Dance episodes a week before we talk about them. So we're going to watch tonight's and talk about it next Tuesday to get you into the mood for the one that goes that night. So because the show is on Tuesday and we drop this podcast on Tuesday, stuff's going to break a little funny. But you know what? Dance is timeless. So it'll work out just fine. And that is going to be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terri.
Goodbye, everybody.